Hi, I'm Jim Barnett. My mom used to say I was born with my motor running. I love to be on the go. I'm on a mission to check out as many interesting places and as many interesting people as I can. And along the way, I want to see who's got the best food. Hey, you're welcome to ride along, but I gotta go.
I can't help myself. I keep having these visions of cherry pie, cherry ice cream, cherry soda, cherry donuts, cherry pancakes, everything cherry. That's because we're headed for Traverse City, Michigan, cherry capital of the world. They're the world's largest producer of tart cherries and even hold a national cherry festival. If our timing's right, all of my cherry dreams are gonna come true.
You only have to be in Traverse City for a few minutes to notice that they're really proud of their big cash crop. There's cherry references everywhere. And come on, a cherry festival? Who else has that? Well, even though it was the cherry festival that drew me to Traverse City, I can't spend all my time there or I'll have a huge case of cherry indigestion. Okay, maybe just one stop. Might as well go for a classic, a cherry sundae. They don't hold back on the prize ingredient here. And why should they? They produce over 360 million pounds of the red jewels right here. Okay, that's cherry dream number one come true. Of all the places on Earth, why is this region so well suited for cherries? Well, first off, you have to look at the lay of the land, as they say. Everything here centers on the bay, the Grand Traverse Bay. If you look at Michigan and think of a mitten, Grand Traverse Bay is just to the east or to the right side of the little finger of Michigan. Then right up through the middle of the bay is a little peninsula that sticks out about 22 miles. It divides the bay into two areas, the East Bay and the West Bay. So from the ground, if we stand at the southern edge of the West Bay in the downtown area and look out over the bay, we'll see Michigan's little finger on the left. It's also known as Leelanau Peninsula or the Big Peninsula. Then straight out over the water to the north, you see Lake Michigan. Then we look to the right and see Old Mission Peninsula, that little one that sticks out in the middle of the bay. Some people call that the Little Peninsula. Okay, now if we drive east a couple of miles down the main drag, we get to the East Bay of Grand Traverse Bay. From here, we're looking at the other side of Old Mission Peninsula on the left, then north into Lake Michigan. Okay, now that you know how it's all laid out, you have to understand where it's laid out. This area sits right on the 45th parallel, halfway between the equator and the North Pole. That means it's got just the right temperatures to work with. Not too cold, not too hot. The net result is this area holds the title when it comes to cherry production. That might also be the reason why this is one of the few places you'll find cherry barbecue potato chips. I'd probably go for sour cream and onion, but hey, they weren't too bad. I wanted to get the real scoop on cherries, so I sat down with Mary and Whitney Lyons. And naturally, the first question I asked was, how long they've been growing cherries?
Oh, lifetime.
Stop a minute. Wait, at that point right there,
Lifetime.
I knew I was talking to the cherry experts.
I'm 86 years old. I've been working here 70 years.
Wow. Was your family in it before you?
Yeah, well, my grandfather started it.
Okay.
Back in 1876.
The Lyons family has been growing cherries on this land for 6 generations.
How much production would I get out of one tree?
You see that tree right there, it's probably 500-600 pounds.
500 or 600 pounds in 1 year?
That's a lot of pie. But hey, life isn't always a bowl of cherries when you're in the cherry business.
4 out of 5 years you make money, but one year out of 5 you don't.
Whitney said that Mother Nature can be your best friend or your biggest enemy.
It's like a storm can come through some night and you're done.
And before you grab your cherry pits and head to Michigan with your shovel, think about this. Growing cherries is a lot of work, especially at harvest time.
We have a crew of about 6 people that do it in 2 big machines, a shaker and a rollout.
That shaker that jiggles the fruit off the tree comes with a big price tag.
A shaker today it's about the same price as Columbine. A shaker, a one-man shaker day is $250,000.
You got to pick a lot of cherries or shake a lot of cherries.
We'll check in with Mary and Whitney a little bit later, but we've got to get back to the Cherry Festival. There's something going on that we don't want to miss. With cherries come the pits. And where else do you find fun with cherry pits than right here in Traverse City? Yes, folks, it's time for the National Cherry Festival's Pit Spitting Contest. We can't miss that. This contest draws a lot of people, and Sweep here, he keeps them in order. He also serves as one of the judges. If there's any arguments about spitting distance, it's up to Sweep to allow it or just sweep away the evidence. I wanted to try some of the fresh cherries, so I gave the whole spitting thing a try on the edge of West Bay. I didn't measure how far they went, but I did discover that ducks don't like cherry pits. You learn something new every day. I wanted to learn more new things about this whole area they call Traverse City. The name actually comes from the bay, which, along with the two peninsulas, is at the center of everything. 18th century French voyagers made what they called La Grande Traverse, or the Long Crossing, when they sailed across the mouth of the bay by canoe. Americanize that phrase just a little and you have Grand Traverse Bay. Then, when the first post office was established, they dropped the Grand and went with just Traverse City. It might be the biggest city in the area now, but it wasn't the first. That honor belongs to a little village out on Old Mission Peninsula. The spot that had the first white settlers is appropriately called Old Mission. A Presbyterian minister by the name of Peter Doherty moved to the area to spread his beliefs to the Ottawa and Chippewa Indians who were already here. Doherty built a church in 1839, and you can visit a replica when you come through. In fact, there's quite a few things to see when you're on Old Mission Peninsula. Right up the road from the church is Reverend Doherty's house. He and his wife Maria built it in 1842, and it holds the honor of being the first frame house in the entire region. Just a few steps from the church and the minister's house sits the Old Mission General Store, where they still sell supplies right out of the shipping barrels. Up the road the other way is the oldest hotel in Michigan, the Old Mission Inn. It was built in 1869 as Hedden Hall, and it's been continually operated as a hotel ever since. In 1902, you could stay here for $1 per person per night. If you wanted dinner, they'd bump it up to $1.50, and the room, dinner, and breakfast could be had for an even $2. While you're out on the little peninsula, go ahead and drive out to the tip, where you'll get to see the Old Mission Lighthouse. By the 1850s, there was a lot of shipping on Grand Traverse Bay. Ships and crews were constantly being lost because of the rocky point at the tip of the peninsula. As time went by, the lighthouse was made obsolete by newer technology, warning buoys in the water, and of course, nowadays by electronic navigation systems. But the lighthouse has a way of taking you back in time for at least a few minutes. Here's a tip for you if you ever head to Traverse City. As I went from place to place around the area, I noticed something really interesting. On the west side of town, you see more of something than you see on the east side of town. Watch as we go from west to east. Did you catch it? Here it is again. Watch what goes away when you move from west to east. The view and the access to the water. If you like open, public, and free access to the natural features of an area, look to the west. That's where you'll find it. Let's head back into town and see what's happening in Traverse City. Well, the Cherry Festival is still the place to be. It draws over 500,000 people every year. It's got all the normal stuff, the rides, the parades, the food. How about a cherry flurry? Pie and ice cream all mixed up together. Now that was really good.